Hey there, and welcome to the first devlog of Intravenous. Please keep in mind that the game is a work in progress, and that there are missing and unfinished assets. Since the game has been in development for quite some time, this first video will go over the basics of what the game features gameplay-wise. Let's start with the fundamentals. Intravenous is a top-down stealth/action game with a lot of emphasis on stealth. The combat is designed in a way to make it very difficult to promote stealth gameplay. With that in mind, let's start with the basics of the game's combat. You can carry around two weapons, a primary weapon and a sidearm. The primary weapon can be an assault rifle, a submachine gun, or a shotgun. For sidearms, there are a variety of pistols. Most of them are chambered in the 9x19mm caliber, since they are readily available at your enemy's disposal. Only two weapons in the game are suppressed, the Brugger and Tomat VP9 and the MK23. The VP9 is very quiet, but it's chambered with subsonic 9x19mm ammo. It has a very long reload, since the magazine is also the grip. While regular 9x19 ammo is readily available from various pistols and SMGs, the variant used for the VP9 is not. I decided to make it this way to make those wishing to play in a stealthy manner not rely on shooting enemies, even with their suppressed weapons. At least, not very often. The MK23 on the other hand operates like any other handgun in the game, but there are a couple of downsides to it. First, the ammo for it is used by only one other pistol with a magazine size of 7 rounds. And second, while suppressed, it's still a lot louder than the VP9. What this means is, even though it's a fast-shooting, quick-to-reload weapon, you won't get to plink your way through the level with it, simply because you'll run out of ammo and will rarely find any more. Unsuppressed weapons are loud and will alert enemies far away. The upside of that is most enemies will readily have ammo for such weapons, since the majority of unsuppressed weapons are chambered in 5.56x45, 7.62x39, 9x19, and 12 gauge for shotguns. Your accuracy is highly dynamic. It is affected by things like how long you sustain gunfire for, your movement, and your mouse movement. Moving your mouse around a lot will cause a penalty on the weapon's accuracy, since you will need time to readjust your aim. In that regard, small movements are okay, large movements are not. The amount of time it takes for you to reload your weapons depends on how close the weapon is to being empty on ammo when reloading. Reloading with a non-empty magazine has the longest reload time, since you spend a lot of time putting the current magazine back into a mag pouch and grabbing a new one from your vest. Reloading with an empty magazine has the fastest reload time, since the only thing you need to do is to drop the empty magazine, grab a new one, and insert it into the weapon. Reloading an empty weapon has the second fastest reload time, since you need to grab a new mag and cock the weapon if necessary. This has a direct effect on the gameplay, since you will always be outnumbered, and you will need to time things like reloading if you wish to stay alive. Speaking of staying alive, you have body armor, and you have the ability to select one of four. 1. A Kevlar vest, which will protect you from calibers like 9x19 or 45 ACP. 2. A plate carrier, which will protect you from any caliber in the game, but will also break much faster than a Kevlar vest. 3. A Kevlar vest in conjunction with a plate carrier, which acts as a two-stage bullet barrier. When the plate breaks, you still have the Kevlar. 4. Nothing at all. That's all well and good, but each piece of equipment slows you down and increases the amount of noise you make when you move around. Obviously, the heavier the armor, the slower you'll move, and the more noise you'll make. It's a trade-off between being mobile and covert versus slower and louder, but more fit for surviving a gunshot wound. However, armor in Intravenous does not make you invincible. Blunt trauma is a thing, and the armor has been balanced in such a way that it doesn't decrease the amount of damage you take by a lot. Instead, it allows you to regenerate the majority of your lost health over time. The logic here is simple. If you get peppered with a ton of bullets in a short span of time, you're going to die from the pain and internal hemorrhaging caused by bullets hitting your armor and causing severe blunt trauma. In practice, what this means is, combat is highly lethal, but a bulletproof vest will allow you to recover given enough time, as long as the armor is not penetrated. Aside from firearms, there are gadgets. For the moment, these are a flashbang and a frag grenade. Flashbangs, as you might expect, temporarily stun enemies, granting you a temporary advantage. Frag grenades just blow shit up. The kicker is that the AI in the game isn't stupid, and so enemies run away from either type of grenade. With that out the way, let's talk about the stealth gameplay. Intravenous features a stealth system that is reminiscent of the early Splinter Cell games. Your visibility is not binary, where you're either in shade or in broad daylight. The heads-up display shows how dark your surroundings are, which greatly affects the range at which enemies can see you, as well as the rate at which they notice you in the dark. If you don't want to be seen, stay out of the light. You can shoot light sources out to create darkness, but that's obviously noisy. You can also alternatively turn lights off, but enemies can turn them back on if they notice that they're off. Regardless, either action will alert your enemies, and when they realize that something is not right, they will become highly alert. Various actions also cause noise. Your movement is obviously the first thing. As I've mentioned before, every piece of equipment you bring with you increases the noise you make. In practice, what this means is, if you go for a combat build, you will be slower and very noisy, but will fare better in combat. You can adjust your movement speed with the mouse wheel. There are 5 stages to it. If you need to move very quickly, you can just hold down the sprint button, which will simply put you into the fastest movement speed right up until you release the sprint key. Speaking of remaining undetected, there are ventilation shafts that you can enter. Don't mind the weird visuals, the assets aren't finished yet. Anyway, ventilation shafts allow you to bypass certain parts of the level undetected, or they might allow you to enter an otherwise inaccessible area. Aside from that, you can also climb over walls and vault over low obstacles. Just like with vent shafts, there are no animations for that yet. Think of the lack of animations as a feature for the time being. There are 2 types of attacks from the back, suffocating someone thereby making them go unconscious, or slitting their throat, thereby killing them. The former is slow but quiet, the latter is fast but makes a decent amount of noise. There's also a lot of other stuff to unpack here, like enemies turning their flashlights on and off depending on how dark the surrounding area is, but I'll leave that for later. So that's it for now. Work is going steadily on the game, and as it is right now, the foundation for the game is pretty much done. What's left for the most part is creating levels, finishing up various things that are mostly done, and polishing everything when the time comes. I'll keep you posted with more devlog videos, so expect more of these to come. If you wish to support the development of the game, you can simply purchase the first game I've made and released on Steam, Game Dev Studio. If it's not something you usually play, let a friend know, they might like it. Thanks for watching, until next time.